Hey, how's it going? So for my video project, I will be answering the research question of is greed an inherent human quality? And so I'll be utilizing the works of Queen of Spades by Pushkin and Faust by Goethe in order to answer these questions and analyze some of the texts. The first work is Queen of Spades, and so the quote I like for Queen of Spades is a couple different things that Herman says throughout the story. And so obviously he really is into gambling and watching gambling, but he never participates. And so the reasoning for why he doesn't participate is the following. He says, um, his position did not allow him, as he said, to risk the necessary in the hope of winning the superfluous. So he says it's not worth, risking what he needs to live in order to live a lavish life. Um, However, it also emphasizes later in the story, though, that he did not draw on the income that he yielded, but lived on his pay, forbidding himself the slightest extravagance. And so, what I observed from these quotes is that there's a lot of characterization of Herman, and he's a very round character in the story. So you get to see a lot of his different thoughts and actions. And so, what I think this does is goes to show us and answer the question that greed is not an inherent human value. He obviously is greedy. I just don't necessarily think he's a bad person. I think that he always dreamed, getting rich from gambling. When the opportunity presented itself that he could, do that, then he, obviously did some messed up things, but what he saw as a small sacrifice for a greater cause. And so, we have to think like, would we do the same thing if, there was a small sacrifice we had to make to achieve like our biggest dream, right? And obviously, him being in the situation he was, it wasn't like a super awesome. He wasn't super rich, or he was just a regular working class guy. So, I think it's a tricky situation. It's very relatable to human life, but at the end of the day, it goes to show that greed is not an inherent human value in the case of Herman. For some quick context, the Queen of Spades piece was published in a Russian literary magazine in 1834. Excuse me. It's just a popular short story because it relates to certain values um, surrounding human life. So for the quote, I like this that Dr. Foss says at the beginning. It says, "Alas, I've studied philosophy, law, as well as medicine, and to my sorrow theology. Study them with ardent zeal, yet here I am, a fool, no wiser." And so basically, what I like about this is it shows a shift in tone. And so obviously it starts out as a very mundane tone. He's kind of just this normal guy who knows all this information but feels like he has no perspective on life. And then as he goes, sells his soul and starts going on this trip and falls in love, the tone starts getting a lot more exciting. And so what I like about this part, it's pretty similar to the Queen of Spades and to Herman, except instead of chasing wealth, he's chasing meaning for in life. And then so this quote at the end kind of shows how he finds it. And so it's a conversation between him and the devil. And I like this dialogue because it shows, the reflection of thoughts and ideas across the characters. And I think it's ironic because it's kind of this, relationship between human and God being, but it's like a God being's dialogue is being written by humans. So it's kind of ironic, but it says, "And then you'll speak faith and love eternal of a single overpowering will that flows so easily from your hearts." Then Fa says, "Enough, I say it will." And so what this means is he finally finds meaning to life and ends up being love. So then in relation to the question about the inherent greed, so selling your soul is obviously not seen as the best thing. Martin Luther King, as established in the context, openly spoke out against it. And it's seen as a greedy thing to do because you're basically turning your back on, like the good and like the strong faith. And he's selling his soul in order to gain more power or knowledge or to gain a false sense of fulfillment or feeling. But ultimately, in the end, he actually finds his answer and finds meaning. So, is he greedy for wanting to do that? He got the fast answer to his question, but he didn't get, to keep it forever. And I mean, really, in that situation, doesn't really affect anybody else, but on a larger scale of things, and the satanic influence it had on society, I don't think Faust is greedy for wanting that. I think, the biggest takeaway from both pieces and how they blend together is that society puts humans in a position to where, we have to be greedy. I mean, what do we value as a society? Who do we look up to? We look up to wealthy people, you know. We look up to people that have a lot of money. We look down on people that don't have a lot of money, and just the way that we've monetized our lives. And so I think that Pushkin and Goethe go and try and, make a statement about this. And they make a statement about, greed and about being greedy, because if you want too much knowledge, you saw how that corrupted Dr. Foster. If you want, too much wealth, you saw how that, corrupted Herman. And so I think they warn against being greedy, and that's why, you ask the question, like, if all these people are doing these greedy things, like, are we all just greedy? And I think that the way society is set up influences us in that way, but inherently we are not. It is simply a result of the way society works. Thank you also for listening.